Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to the premiere presentation of Memories of Oregon, created by SWL Media and Learning Center for the Paz Boys. This video was inspired by a Facebook entry made by Toby regarding his reflection of his trip to Oregon in the 80s. He especially mentioned Crater Lake. In the 1960s, that was the late 1960s, Randy, Gary, Rick, and Doug accompanied me to Oregon, where I was working for White Stag Skiwear. A little bit more on that in the next slide. So sit back, and we hope you'll enjoy the video. Well, how did we get to Oregon in the late 60s? As I mentioned in the previous slide, I was working for White Stag Skiwear at the time. White Stag was a division of Wanaco, the mother company in Bridgeport, Connecticut. After successfully implementing the first automated finished goods inventory for the Warner Lingerie Group, corporate decided to send me out to Portland to work on a raw material inventory system for White Stag Skiwear. It was a challenging project, and I spent about a year and a half designing and beginning to implement the system. As the implementation was taking place, Lawrence Renette, the president of White Stag Skiwear, offered me the position of Assistant Vice President for Information Systems. This was a great honor, and I had to consider the position very carefully. In fact, we went as far as looking at homes in Oswego. This was a neat home with a creek running through it. Just as we were about to make the decision to move to Oregon, corporate made a counteroffer and asked me to return to Bridgeport, Connecticut to be the corporate systems manager for all of the Wanaco subsidiaries. So Portland became the road not taken. The city of Portland, Oregon was incorporated in 1851. On the right side of the screen, you'll see one of my favorite views of the city taken from the Rose Gardens. Mount Hood can be seen in the distance, hovering majestically and protectively over the city. It definitely was one of the sights that drew me to the city and to the love of the area. Here are some pictures of our home away from home while we were in Portland during the 60s. I want you to pay attention to that fenced-in area in the bottom right-hand corner of the first slide. Behind that fence is a pool, and you boys must remember that that's where you learned a lot of swimming and really how to dive. You were really great. We were going to put you in the Olympics. Unfortunately, the motel became disarrayed, as you can see in the top right-hand corner. And it now, I believe, is being repurposed for a multi or mixed area. Rose's Delicatessen and Restaurant was my favorite eating establishment within the city of Portland. They did have the best deli west of New York. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see the display case. This was in the original location. You can see some of the desserts there and some drinks, and below that are some salads, which I'm not sure you can see. In the center was my favorite sandwich, the Reuben, and it was to die for. It was at least 2 meals, and sometimes 3. There were times, though, when I would just eat a part of my Reuben and then have some of that mouth-watering cheesecake. Or, on weekends when I went in just to say hi, I'd have the cheesecake or one of their other great desserts. Yeah, I did put on some weight. On the bottom right-hand corner, Toby, you may remember this because I believe this was their new location, or a picture of their new location, when we were out there in the 80s. Can anyone who visits the Portland Rose Gardens forget their experience? The beautiful landscaping, the various hybrid roses from various areas of the world, was just a beautiful and comforting environment. On the right-hand side, you'll see Mount Hood in the background, just hovering still over the city and the rose gardens. They were a special place for me while I was in Oregon. The job I had was tension-filled, and I was alone, basically. I didn't have a lot of cohorts. I didn't have a member of the team. I was it for the most part. And there were times when the job got a little tension-filled, and I would go to the Rose Garden, and I would sit in one of the gazebos, and I would just try to unravel, decide what my next step was, and yes, Toby, try to figure out how to make it happen. I can't remember if any of you actually witnessed the Rose Parade. The Rose Parade in Portland is second only to the Rose Parade in Pasadena. It is a wonderful spectacle, and so I've added these pictures in the event that you did see it, and if you didn't see it, maybe you'll look it up and find out a little bit more about it. We're going to leave the city of Portland for the time being and explore some of the other scenery around Oregon. Oregon is famous for its covered bridges. They come in different shapes, different colors. Some are relatively new. Some are dilapidated. Some you can cross, some you can't cross. It's very interesting. You might want to look them up. On the bottom left-hand corner is a facsimile of a fishing boat that I took to do some salmon fishing out on the Oregon coast. That was my first and only deep sea fishing experience. You can tell I loved it, right? Well, I did have a distinction on that trip. I was the only fisher person who got 5 fairly large salmon while I was sleeping. I was able to keep them, brought them ashore, brought them to a cannery, had them canned, brought them back to Connecticut, and we ate salmon for many, many months. Top right-hand corner is the Oregon coast. What a beautiful, beautiful coast. It has its natural beauty. It's a national park, so no building has taken place on the coast itself. The closest I was able to get to it was playing golf one time. The bottom right-hand corner is a picture of the city of Portland looking down the Willamette River. The river was used for a lot of industry at one time, like paper, milk, pulp processing, etc. Here are some random shots of Oregon scenery. In the top left-hand corner is the Columbian River and the Bonneville Dam. This is where the salmon swim upstream. Bottom left is the Mount Hood with Mount Jefferson in the background, and then if you look carefully you might be able to see the Three Sisters. Top right-hand corner is Mitchell Point Tunnel. This is on the way to the locks. In the bottom right-hand corner was my favorite seafood restaurant in Astoria, Oregon. It's called the Seafair, and I think that's me sitting in the corner. You can just barely see me. Okay, here we are at Cannon Beach. The shops there are very unique. They're lovely shops. Spent a lot of time walking through, seeing the unique items that they have there. Then just behind the shops is Haystack Rock, which sits out on the beach. And for additional relaxation, there is Escola State Park, good for picnicking. You can see can you just see the table and the benches there? I don't know where the people are. And then we have the beachfront, great for relaxing. Sometimes in the winter you might find people building fires on the beach because it gets a little cool. Originally had a plan, this was in the 80s, to open an ice cream shop featuring non-alcohol liquor flavored cones, etc. Well, that did not come to fruition, but there's one in the middle just for you. That is your ice cream cone. Here's another piece of the plan of the 80s. Cannon Beach had a great conference center, and we were trying to figure out a way to move Syscon International to Cannon Beach, open the ice cream shop, and hold seminars. That also did not come to fruition, but it was great thinking about it and great planning for it at the time. This is one of my favorite scenes in Oregon, that of the Multnomah Falls. I remember walking across the bridge at the top and looking down and looking up. It's a great, great feeling. At that point, I knew there was a God. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see a red leaf, and the reason that's there is because they say that the leaves on the falls during the fall turn this bright red. The early leaves you can see in the bottom picture. Do y'all remember the fish swimming upstream? Well, in order to do that, they had to go through the ladders that you see in the top left-hand picture. And in the bottom, you can see a little salmon trying to get up that ladder. He's fighting and fighting and fighting. I wonder if he made it. Well, if he did, there was a counter that looked through the viewing window, and they counted the fish as they went upstream. My recollection is that each counter could only be seated doing the counting for about 15 to 20 minutes. After that, it got very tedious. I'm sure you're all aware of the inspiration that I get from Mount Hood. You'll recall that I have pictures of it throughout the home and in my office. And whenever I get to the point where I feel I need a little bit of inspiration or I need to be a little pickup, then I'll go and look at my mountain and feel a lot better about the world. On the bottom left-hand corner is a picture of the lodge during the summer or spring time. And then on the right-hand side is a picture of it covered with snow. And the mountain may be part of that picture, but I'm not sure. On the right-hand side is the lodge's interior. The lodge was built in the late 1930s by, it was a work project to try to help people who were affected by the Depression to get jobs. The lodge has 2 stories, and loved sitting on the second story and looking out the window, and at that time probably had a cocktail in my hand. Then the fireplace is rather unique. I don't know of another one like it. It has 6 openings, 3 on the bottom and 3 at the first level. They had a number of lounging areas throughout the lodge, and sleeping quarters were very nice. The one shown here was probably a little bit more luxurious than some of the others. Oh yeah, by the way, is that you, Toby, getting ready to ski down that icy slope? I don't know, looks a little bit big for you but gee, it could be, who knows? Someone might have been taking a picture. Well, Toby, here it is. One of your favorite locations in Oregon. One of mine, too, and Mervin's. You can see various views of it in the top left-hand section. And then the one with the sunset on the bottom is kind of nice, too. There was a lodge there. I never stayed there, I don't believe. But it looks like it might be a nice place. So when you go out there and visit again, stay at the lodge and let me know how it is. Well, we've finally gotten to the best part of the show. Here's the quilt that Mervin made for you, Toby. It is a nice wall hang, and we try to get the best picture we could of Crater Lake. We hope that you would like it. It's made with a lot of love. And we hope that you enjoy showing it off. Well, that's it, guys. That's the end of this presentation created by SWL Media and Learning Center. This is the first of, I think, many. Master of the Possibilities has asked me to develop 2 virtual training programs on writing and self-publishing, which I will begin to tackle next. If you want to share this video with others, I'm going to send you the link that they can use